So I want to say that first because I think that's really important and it's great. We can identify things about ourselves all day, but then if we're not doing anything about it, what's the point?
Today, we're talking with a leader who operates at the high-stakes intersection of revenue and reputation. As the Director of Sales and Marketing for Scalzo Hospitality, Lydia Lightner has been dismantling the old playbook over the last few years. She's been mastering her inside game. And she has been absolutely building and leading a healthy, high-performance team as a superstar executive who really understands what we're talking about when we say leading without the BS. Everyone, welcome Lydia Lightner.
Hi, thank you so much. So excited to be here. First podcast.
Super excited. Oh, nice. I love it. First podcast. We're still, listen, we don't know what we're doing around here. We're still figuring stuff out. Luckily, I've got big time support with AJ and Truman. So you and I are both in good hands.
Beautiful. That's the name of the game. None of us really know what's going on. Just figuring it out.
We might get into that
I'm
today.
sure we will.
So Lydia, in the sales and marketing world, so many people are, professionally trained to smile, pitch, act like they have it all figured out. And 3 years. When did you and I start working together? About 3 years.
I think it was 2 or 3, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. It's getting close to 3 years. So 3 years ago, when you and I started. What was perhaps the face you may have put on for other people? And yet, what was the actual pressure that was happening under the surface that a lot of people really didn't know?
Yeah, it was really funny that nobody knew because it was crazy. I thought everyone knew. I was pretty new into this leadership role when we first started. I think maybe 6 months into being director of sales and marketing here, and had been promoted started here in event management and then sales, senior sales, and then director of sales. So it was quite a transition to get used to, and I really wanted to prove myself. I knew that I was capable. I had obviously worked really hard to get where I was and to get promoted, but I wanted everyone to think that I had everything together and was already an expert in what I was doing, which is really silly for just starting. But that's how it goes. And so, I just really wanted to have this illusion that I had it all together. And I was really just modeling, what I'd seen from our previous director of sales, Ryan, who's been on the podcast, and through other leaders that I've admired, and even ones that I haven't, but just, thinking of leadership as having to look a certain way and act and talk a certain way to be effective. And that was really exhausting to try to put on that front. And, you've got that mixed with the sales personality too. And so definitely, I was capable, I was doing a great job, and I knew that. At the same time, it didn't feel authentic all of the time. And that was very draining because there was so much pressure. It was a brand new role. I had been our top sales manager. So,
Fast rising.
Yes.
Also. So like expanded scope.
Very fast. And then having the previous role open and passing it on to someone else, wanting to instill confidence in that new person, but also wanting to grip really tightly. So, it took a couple of years, I think, to really get over the masking. And it still comes in from time to time, but where I'm at now is so much more authentic and effective at the same time.
Oh, I love it. It's like you're reading my mind, because knowing the pressure you operate under. One thing that you didn't mention is like pressure for the numbers. You have massive quotas. You are leading, an entire team. And most leaders in your position think that the answer to the stressful, high demand environment is work longer hours and run faster and scream, into your pillow. And you had a moment, I'm sure moments, though. What was your moment, or like that inflection point where you realized, okay, I'm tapped out on my technical performance, and my behavioral performance is where the bottleneck is?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one time because, I think I kept running into that truth and denying it for a while, or, getting a little closer to the truth. But that's a big hurdle, I think, when someone's promoted from a technical role where you've been really successful for your technical knowledge, for the grind, and then going into leadership. I hear about it from a lot of people that have a similar story. And it is hard. It's hard to switch that mindset, even when and you're encountering, I am working the maximum number of hours I can work, but I am still not succeeding. And, I think in our conversations and in conversations with my mentors, it just reached a point where I thought, I should probably give it a shot because this is not sustainable. It's not working. And discovering that you really can multiply the value of the organization and of your outputs if you can just inspire your team to elevate themselves and to grind at the level that you are grinding. I realized that motivation that I had didn't come from somebody babying me and coddling me. I really, when I started this role, I didn't want people to think that I wasn't helping enough. I wanted to be seen as compassionate and caring because that's a big part of my identity. And eventually realized that, it's very empowering to be really great at your job and to be a high performer. It's an amazing feeling. And me holding everyone's hand was not getting them there. It was not actually the kind thing to do. And so it just through coaching and seeing over time that performance continue to elevate from everyone else, it's like, oh, wow, I can still be strategic and I can go home and not think about work. That's crazy. And then we can max out our revenue goals because everyone's performing at this high level instead of just one or two people. Mind-blowing. I could have listened to people a little sooner, but sometimes you just got to hit the rock bottom on that burnout and then trust it.
Yeah. Until the consequences are painful enough. What people are offering to us or encouraging us doesn't hit home. It's not moving us. And so that's, and it's, there's just a whole other level of value when you've been the one in it, and instead of learning it like vicariously through somebody else.
Yes, it's so much more of a deep knowledge, and you can't get that from just being taught without experiencing it. And that shift too of, my success previously being measured primarily on the technical elements to now as a leader, that stuff is still important, but it's the behavioral elements of my role that really matter and that really make the impact overall. Huge shift. Huge shift.
Well, and what you're saying too, and being rewarded for the technical side of your performance and the literally on the systems, processes, technology side, there was so much that goes back to your dismantling some of the old playbooks and going into new territory, really taking that entrepreneurial approach. And it's that's part of what you were rewarded for and promoted for, is all of that amazing work you did on the technical side and the results that you were generating personally. It is what you're describing too. It's hard to let go of that. And then also, anytime any one of us are in a team and we start to build friendships and, we've got those relationships with our peers, and then all of a sudden now you're their manager, that brings on a whole host of other challenges.
Yes.
And so,
it sure does.
So when you're looking at the whole scope, because I remember too, it was quite fresh. You were in the director role, 3 to 6 months when we first got together. When you look back 3 years ago, what do you recall was primarily driving your decision making?
Chaos, really. I think just there was a lot of fear driving a lot of my decisions, fear of failure on the revenue side, kind of scraping and clawing, that mentality. And also a fear of being disliked, honestly. And of hurting people. In a position of authority, you have more influence than before. And so I think I made a lot of decisions, or really held off on making a lot of decisions that I knew were effective to be made at the time. But holding off on those decisions because I didn't want to hurt someone or make the wrong decision. Everything felt so black and white, and it was hard to trust my gut when I had all of this information and I was still, deciphering, who do I listen to? Do I listen to all of these outside voices, or do I trust myself, or do I trust data? And kind of all of those things intertwining. So it was just a whole mess of chaos with a lot of different inner voices, with a lot of different concerns.
Sure, yeah.
Which is what we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what truly sets you apart, is your willingness to be honest about that. For a lot of leaders, at some time or another, maybe currently, they are making decisions from fear of someone being disappointed in them or not liking them, or fear of the quote unquote wrong decision. Like what you're describing, not a lot of people would admit out loud that that's where they were coming from.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of us deal with, I'm sure. And yeah, I think it's good to be honest about it. And if you're growing and learning, then that's what it's all about.
Yeah, which is also tremendous, because you have a team there who's dedicated to it, from the president, well, even back then, Paul, the CEO, your CFO, who are also owners, your president, and at the director level, several of you, and that is also, you are a big catalyst for that work to expand out to some of your colleagues. And that was because of how you approached it, with this honesty and humility and, like tenacious heart. And definitely something to be proud of, because your impact your impact is 360. It's not just with your functional team in sales and marketing.
Yeah, for sure. It's been really great to expand the impact over the last couple of years to just my direct sales and marketing team, to the whole hotel, and then Scalzo Hospitality as an entire company. It's been really fun to kind of dig in on everything.
That's awesome. you know that the market is flooded with traditional coaching firms who will, give you a personality assessment and tell you to set smart goals, and they might have a weekly or bi-weekly, cheerleader conversation with you, or and you know that doesn't work. You and I have been in the trenches for a few years. That's one thing that I really applaud about you and your personal leadership is how you show up and you're ready to dig in. What is one of those tough or maybe hard to hear pieces of feedback or something that I pointed out to you about your behavioral performance that maybe stung in the moment and yet turned out to be a catalyst or a launch pad for you?
There have been so many things. That's like our weekly experience. But, I think, one thing that has set this apart, because I love a personality test and I love a self-help book. But what this has done completely differently from anything like that is you learn why you're doing what you're doing, and kind of those patterns inside yourself. But then you don't just sit with that and think, this is the type of leader I am. But learning that we have the power to change and grow and be whatever kind of leaders we want to be. So I want to say that first, because I think that's really important and it's great. We can identify things about ourselves all day, but then if we're not doing anything about it, what's the point? And you see that everywhere these days. So I think overarching, that's been a huge theme. But specifically, one example that I think has been, there's so many, but one example that I think has been really impactful is just kind of going back to what is kindness. And I initially really, wanted to be a helper. And I love problem solving for fun. And so that kind of bit me in the butt a little bit because I wanted to help my team. I wanted to support them. I wanted to be there for them, make their jobs easier. And, even coming down to not terminating an employee, for what's kind, and really having you illustrate to me that people are resilient and resourceful on their own. And that the kind thing is not to allow people to be mediocre, and to just float by. And that the kind thing is often the hard thing, which I don't want to hear because I want to do the easy thing, right? At least I did. Now I've seen the impact in a major way, but that was hard to hear at first because, what do you mean I have to go actually do this then?
But that's not going to feel great.
No, it's not. But really just, it is so true. It is so true that holding people accountable is the kind thing to do. If someone's not performing well right now, and they're not meeting their expectations, they're not going to do that without being challenged. And not only are they not going to do that here, but they're not going to do it at home or in their future jobs or anywhere. They're not growing. They're not learning. And that was just really tough for me to learn, but it has become such an important aspect of my leadership now, and making those hard decisions. And I've seen it pay off for people too, where I've seen them improve as people outside of just work, and just become more resourceful and more powerful, and really just go for what they want in a big way. And also just really grow and expand in the company and push themselves beyond what they thought they could do. So it has been so rewarding and so transformative to switch that mentally and know that you can be compassionate and also set clear expectations and hold people accountable and really help transform the experience altogether.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Of course, I get some sneak peeks from other people regarding your impact and how you continue to help and support by holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, like how rewarding to see people flourish, not just in the work setting, like you said, in their personal lives, because you had the courage and the kindness to support them in a really healthy, powerful way.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It has been an unexpected benefit of this role and of our work together for sure.
Another one of the, I want to say like aspects of your personal leadership, like just your being and how you approach life that really is uncommon, is your dedication to really mastering your inside game. What has that meant for you? And what does it look like?
It is a big part of my life. It is really important. That is true. I think it comes down to responsibility over our own lives and our own feelings and realities. And just understanding that we have the power to shape that ourselves is amazing. I mean, it's great. Mm-hmm. We're in control. We're in the driver's seat here. And so, it is a high pressure role. It always will be. With working on my inside game, it's not taken that away, but it's just helped me to pause and make decisions with all the information, right? Not driven out of fear, but just really asking myself the tough questions and pausing and having that check-in with myself and digging in. And I think one of the biggest things that I have practiced is that digging in. When I identify a problem now, I see it and then I think, oh, what's the root of that? Okay, now what's the root of that? And just removing all the BS and the fluff around it until we get to the core. Because I was spending so much time spiraling and thinking about all of these problems when they were just one problem. And the amount of time that I spend overthinking and overanalyzing has just been drastically cut down so I can think more strategically and think more impactfully. And that applies to everything. And and I'm also always coaching my friends and my family on that too, because it just opens up life in a big way. It's just proven to be so worth it to do that work internally.
It's such an awesome illustration that where you talk about, I'm thinking about all these problems. And really, when I just stop and check in, ask myself some questions, it really is just one problem. That's so insightful, because like how overwhelming to think about all these different problems. And then when you really boil it down, and that key inside game course is asking ourselves some questions. But when you boil it down, bring it down, like, okay, now I can, not only is it one problem, I'm seeing it clearly.
Yeah. I was just doing that last week in the PCP. I wrote out a list of what's happening, and the list of what's happening was 25 items. And we ended up at 2, because you learned those are all symptoms of an underlying problem through just really digging in with those advancing questions internally.
And for a lot of you listening know what she's talking about when she says PCP. You've heard it a couple of times, the personal contribution process. So yeah, so powerful. 25 things and you boiled it down to 2. Outstanding.
And we boiled it down to 10 first, and then 6, and then kept going, kept pushing.
And then what did that help you do for what was next?
I mean, in making your decision when you need to change the outcome of 20 different problems, it's pretty tough to make a decision. It's just a lot clearer when it's one or two. And also it removes the question of, why is this person doing this? Or why does this problem exist? Because that doesn't really matter. What matters is what's happening, right? What am I actually seeing? What are the behaviors? What are the consequences? And starting that process, you're thinking, oh gosh, there's 10 different options of how I could move forward from here. When you can narrow it down, it's very clear, you've got one way or another way. So decision making is literally 10 times easier through that process.
I would imagine also like your conviction around that decision.
Yes. Yes, because I think it's great to list everything that's happening, to think through every single thing that's happening, every problem, every consequence, because that's great information. But then looking at those as effects of the problem, you see, wow, this is the impact, this is the scope, the costs. A decision is very, very easy. And not only is it easy internally, but it's easy to justify to others and to get buy-in from others and influence others with that, because you understand it. You know exactly what's happening.
Awesome. You talk about the role and your scope of responsibility being, demanding. You've also had, Ryan talked a little bit about this as well, over the winter months. Y'all navigated something where, the tension and the risk was sky high. And, unbelievable pressure in terms of the crisis that you were navigating in the community. How did you, and a lot of your team members are looking to you for answers. How did you work through that? And what would you acknowledge in terms of your personal leadership performance in all of that?
Yeah, that was a very, very challenging time. Definitely, probably the most challenging and highest pressure experience that I've had. So we
paint a picture for us as to what was really going on.
Yeah, so this was in the winter of this year, 2026. It was big in the news. Minneapolis had thousands of ICE agents come into our city, and it was a very aggressive, intense raid on the city. A lot of very bad things happened, very tragic things. It was a very scary time for the city. Major unrest, a lot of mourning from the community. So there was that element, which was hugely impactful on me, on our team, on our customers, everybody. Our team members were afraid to come to work. They were losing their family members left and right. Very, very scary time. And, operationally on the executive team, I played a big role in what are we going to do to support our team and to keep our people safe. And, it was also a challenging time legally because there's a lot of parameters of what can and can't be done. And so that was strenuous on its own. But then there was this added element that hotels were being targeted with protests for housing ICE agents. And it was very stressful, I think, for every hotel in the cities. Because again, legally, there are a lot of limitations on why and why not you can deny a guest. An occupation is not one of them. And so these large movements were going on, highly conveyed in local media, overnight protests of marching bands in hotel parking lots for any hotels suspected of housing ICE. And being over marketing, I'm also over PR for the hotel. And so on top of this highly emotional side of worrying about our people, keeping our people safe, having people coming around the building, taking surveillance pictures and, just highly intense. then the added element of, okay, now this is also a business and I have a job to balance this, right? And we've, politically, any way you lean, there are a lot of downsides to the situation that was happening here. And it was just very, very tough. And we've got, a lot of our client base who would be against denying ICE, right? We've got a lot of our client base who would say, if you have ICE here, we're never coming back. And a lot of limitations for what you can and can't say to people. And, trying to legally stay within the bounds as I did back then. But really what I had to do, I could go on and on from the operational side and trying to keep our people safe and how we contributed to that. And really just fighting for our people. But from my role in marketing, we were getting constant calls all day, every day. Do you have ICE staying there legally? And per corporate, like the international corporate, we're not allowed to stay. But we also have a lot of clients who, if you just say, I can't say, assume that means yes, and will then pull out $1 million from you. Really high stakes.
Yeah, because they don't understand what you're legally bound to do.
Right. And so, it was weeks and weeks of changing approaches constantly as more information came out, as more guidance was provided. And we didn't really receive any guidance, and the hotel company didn't put anything out about, the corporate policy on housing ICE agents. So it was really up to the hotels. So we're fielding guest questions. We're fielding questions from the government too, and from our people. Constant questions from our people and constant what ifs being brought up every single day. Well, this scenario could happen. What will we do to prepare for this? And it got to a point where I just pulled back and had to really talk to myself and talk through it and think, what are the risks associated with sharing this? What about with sharing this? What about with not sharing anything? What are the risks of preparing for this versus not preparing for this? Really strategically thinking about every single thing. And eventually just reaching a point where I had to take a risk on how I was going to communicate with people in a way that was honest and displayed our company's, our local company's core values, while kind of towing the line, managing humanity with corporate policy, with legal restrictions, and expressing empathy to the people that were asking the questions and saying, like, I understand why you're asking this, and I feel for you, and I feel for your people that are afraid to come here. Here's what I can tell you, and here's what I can't, and here's why. On top of that, there's the protesters. And so then I'm negotiating with the organization that was organizing the protests to explain the hotel policy, because I attended a meeting with all of the Minneapolis hotels and police leaders and brought up the question of, hey, is anyone talking to this organization? Because police couldn't keep up with it. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. No one had thought to talk to them and, discuss how they could mutually benefit from approaching things a different way and both reach the outcomes that they desired. And they didn't have an appetite to do that. So I reached out directly. And we were actually able to have our hotel removed from the list because I was able to prove that we were wrongly put on the list of hotels that were housing ICE. Without giving away any confidential guest information or anything that I wasn't allowed to say, of course. But I don't think anybody else was getting removed from the list. There were 60 to 70 hotels on there. And so, you're on there, you get protests, you lose clients. It was very high pressure. And I negotiated with them for weeks because there would be a car spotted in the parking lot that was a rental car that had been previously used by an ICE agent 3 weeks ago. And then we'd get automatically put on the list. And then I reach out and I explain that it was not. And it was just a very complicated time, a lot of complicated conversations happening all the time. So really stepping back and, I scheduled kind of a one-off meeting with you too. And I just gave you my thoughts on here's what I want to say to each of these groups of people. And we talked through it and thought, how can this be more impactful? How can it be more honest and also still remain safe? And I'm extremely proud of that situation. It was very, very hard. And it was just emotionally and professionally a very hard time for all of us. And I think to manage it, to maintain our client relationships, to keep everybody here safe, I'm very proud of it.
Oh my goodness. And who would have thought you would be impacting all these different parts of your community? Like you said, law enforcement, the organizations that were actually organizing the protests. You're unbelievable, the influence and how you partnered with them. It's just tremendous. And I hope you are extremely proud. That is just unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is it that you like? What do you see really, bursting out from you and your team at Scalzo, having come through that the way that you did?
Yeah, I think there's a really strong sense of community now, of really caring for each other, just very deeply. And, still making decisions that need to be made, still holding people accountable. But that community, when you all come together to support each other and when you work together to solve such complex problems with such a real impact. I mean, working in hotels, you don't make a lot of decisions every day that are life or death or, living here or not. And so it's not something that you expect. And going through those unexpected times, there's nothing like it to bring a team closer together. And it was hard, and everyone had a very hard time, but came through it on the other end. So now I think everyone is very eager to be more involved in the community. We're doing a lot more community service projects as a team.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, so we started that up this year. And our assistant director, Jocelyn, put together a committee for that. So we've got a couple of things planned, which is great, but just there's really a desire and a connection to our community and a pride in our community and the spirit of it that I'm very proud of and I think is very beautiful. And yeah, it's been really great to come out on the other side and feel like, we can breathe again.
Yeah.
Everything feels easier now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have a whole other perspective and depth having gone through that. And again, all the work that you have been doing on your inside game, on your behavioral performance with others. And it's been unbelievable to see you with that being a recent, huge, up leveling through the last few years. You know what it really takes to lead and support an entire team and take them from a compliance mindset to conviction and connection, like you're talking about right here. So that is, again, and I want to state the obvious around it's not like you have 60 years under your belt. So the fact that you are still so young as in terms of you have an entire career in front of you still, and to have successfully navigated through that and brought your team together in the process. Wow. That is, going back to what we said earlier, that experience, very few people will have.
Yeah, I feel very blessed. I mean, I don't love that we went through that, but I feel very blessed to have had the opportunities that I've had so far and to be able to work with you and to have great mentors. And, I do feel very blessed. I know that I worked very hard and have the skills to be where I am. But I also feel very lucky to be here. And I know that I am very fortunate to have these experiences, and I'm excited to see where I go.
I'm right along with you. I get to be the lucky one. Okay, we're going to go into our no BS rapid fire round.
Beautiful.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, unfiltered, just your gut answer. Data-driven analytics or pure creative instinct?
Both. A little of both.
A little of both. That is you. It's funny, when I wrote that down, I was like, both.
I'll listen to my gut, but
I like my data.
Yes.
The most useless piece of sales advice you've ever been given?
You need to make cold calls. Just build relationships. Keep your people coming back.
What's the ultimate walk-up song for Lydia Lightner when you're walking into a high-stakes exchange?
Back in Black.
Ooh, nice. What's one word that describes the partnering between you and me?
Unfiltered.
Which one is a harder challenge? Managing an incredibly demanding client or addressing behavioral BS within your team?
Addressing behavioral BS.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl. Both, again.
One word that defines your personal leadership today?
Intuitive.
I like that one. Your ultimate go-to comfort food or reward after a big win?
Comfort food, mac and cheese, reward, a concert.
Ooh, nice. Favorite place in the world to completely unplug and turn off all of your notifications?
My hometown, Bradenton and Anna Maria Island on the beach.
I thought about that. If your team could use only one word to describe the environment that you've built, what would you want it to be?
Transformative.
I love it. Lydia, you are a primo example of unstoppable performance and just a leader that takes all the BS and throws it in the trash. Thank you so much for just having the guts and the grit to share what was real for you and to share with us more about what it was really like to navigate some of that stuff up in Minneapolis. This has been tremendous, and I'm excited because we get to continue our partnering together.
Yes.
What is one challenge you would extend to our listeners today?
Find what you're avoiding and then dig in.
Oh,
It's the most important thing. There's a reason you're avoiding it.
Oh, I like that one. Okay, we're going to put that in all caps.
Yes.
All right, Lydia, thank you, and we will see you in the arena.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This was very fun.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
Bye.